2, 1, go.
Teaching grammar and context to improve writing, Deanna McMurray. Okay, the traditional approach to grammar, the way that we typically receive instruction as students whenever we were in school, research shows that that doesn't really work. It's not really improving student writing at all. They're not correlating what they're learning in their grammar class with correcting all of those mistakes and sentences to their writing. They can make all those corrections and they can do quite well on the test, but whenever it comes to their actual writing, they're not improving it at all. So the new approach that people are looking at is called functional grammar, and that's the way that instead of giving students error-ridden text, now they're using professional authors in books that they're actually studying in class, and they're looking at what is done correctly and trying to mirror those same correct sentence structures in their own writing. And since it's so new, the research is still out as far as how effective it is, but it does seem to show more improvement as far as students making those same corrections in their writing and making the connection between grammar and writing than the traditional approach did. Okay, so one way that you use functional grammar is in the Writer's Workshop method, and that's shown through Mechanically Inclined and Everyday Editing. Jeff Anderson is the one who kind of started this method, and there are several others who use Writer's Workshop as well. But the way Jeff Anderson sets it up is students are given an invitation to imitate. And so at the beginning of class, he gives them sentences by a professional author, and this sentence is from Diane Roberts' Made You Look. And he asks the students to just, what do they notice about the text? Okay? His face turned the color of an avocado. He stood motionless like he was nailed to the floor. Okay, so we asked the students first, what do they notice about the sentence? I'm going to ask you guys, what do you notice about that sentence that may be different than something that you would write?
It's detailed.
It's detailed, okay. A lot of student sentences are not that detailed, okay. Most students, instead of writing his face turned the color of an avocado, would say that his face turned green, okay. So how is this sentence, with its detail, how is turning the color of an avocado different than just his face turning green?
Well, a lot of different colors of green.
Okay. So
And it's very elementary, and this is very specific, and you can picture it in your head.
okay.
When you think about avocado, I mean, you think of that, and you can see it.
So as a teacher, you would then try to get the students to write a descriptive sentence where they use a specific shade of a color instead of just doing the generic green or yellow. And it can go into an essay like the crayon essay where you give them a specific color and they've got to describe an object from that color. But it goes from that invitation just to notice what is specific about that sentence to the invitation to imitate. And they just imitate the specific sentence structure itself or the fact that this one has detail. The invitation to celebrate is a way to show students that the things that they are doing well. So if they have a really great sentence that shows the detail, you can celebrate that in the class. Or some students will be able to find sentences that mirror the same structure in the books that they're reading or in the text that you're reading in class. And so you can celebrate their successes with the grammar assignment. The invitation to collect is where you can either, as a teacher, give the students a passage and they look for examples of the structure in the passage, or you can ask the students to look in their own reading for examples of what you're looking at. Invitation to write, invitation to combine, and invitation to edit is where the students actually start writing using that structure, and they get steadily more detailed from going just from the sentence level all the way to paragraphs and even essay forms. Okay. In the sentence composing method, and this is Don Kilgallen who does this, students are still looking at mentor text to get an idea of how they should write themselves. But in this method, they're actually breaking the sentence into parts, kind of like whenever we were doing sentence chunking or paragraph chunking before. We did that, gosh, 11 years ago, I guess, where we would break the text into parts and look at a paragraph or paragraphs at a time, just to make it easier for students to deal with. At this point, we look at just sentences at first, so students can look at different sentence structures, and then once they've broken it into parts, okay, so for this mentor sentence, you've got the main part of the sentence, the adjectives in a series, and then the phrase at the end. Once they've broken it into parts and they try to create their own version of the sentence. So then we have an example sentence down here of where a student has taken the original sentence and created their own using an entirely new subject. Okay? So, as the students in this class, okay, what is your example following this mentor sentence structure? Melissa?
Okay. This is a child, sweet, kind, and innocent as an angel.
Good job. You followed the exact format that the original author had, using the basic sentence at the beginning, the 3 adjectives, and then the phrase at the end. Good job. Okay. The let's dart a sentence. Okay, that's a new one. I haven't used this one yet, but I can see where it would really help students with revising. A lot of students, whenever we get to the revising stage in writing, they kind of get completely lost with exactly what they should be doing. They can edit, okay, finding just those basic errors, but they don't know how to delete unnecessary information, add, rearrange, and trade. And they really don't know how doing that affects their sentence. So the teacher would give them a basic sentence, okay, we walked home in silence. With the delete stage, the students would just delete part of it, and then they could talk about how we walked differs in meaning from we walked home in silence. What is lost in that deletion? Okay? With add, okay, when you add from the park, what is added? Now we know where they're walking from. In rearrange, with in silence in the front, okay, the meaning stays the same, but we have a sentence that now is not just starting with just the basic subject. Okay? And then in trade, we get more descriptive. We know who exactly we are, and trudged is much more descriptive than walked. So just giving students something as simple as that can show them how to change a sentence and how changing the sentence can affect the meaning. Okay. Other methods that students can use, or that teachers can use, are using headlines to show students unique styles of writing, including figurative language in current events and how that can affect meaning. And since we're writing so many essays using articles, I thought that would be important to note, as well as how to punctuate quotations and how to use quotations correctly in a text, which is something that especially middle school students really seem to struggle with. Okay. And I thought this was really interesting. We may not be able to mirror exactly how professional writers edit, but we can discover how they shape their writing, how they learn to craft sentences and meaning, and that's really the goal. We want students to be able to learn the correct way to write. Okay? And finally, I just wanted to end with why this may work more than the old way of teaching grammar. And that is because since the old way wasn't really improving writing at all, the goal needs to be to improve writing. So we want to look for a more effective way to improve their quality, to show them how they can improve their quality of writing instead of just telling them to do it. Okay? Standardized tests ask students to make choices about grammar and editing, and this definitely does that, so it still will help with standardized tests. And every teacher of writing needs to know that a student can learn to write, partly by imitating the sentences of good writers. Okay. By examining good writers, we're showing them what they can do. Students actually do well with a model. So if we show them the model of an essay and then ask them to write something similar, they tend to do a little bit better, other than just giving them a prompt and expecting them to just do it. So why wouldn't we apply that to grammar?